Hello, I'm Ben from Too Many Metal Men. Now, you may well have watched the battle report from the Warlord 10th Anniversary game show where I was playing Fantares with Rick Priestley and another guy, Chris. If you like the look of that, I'll talk about it a little bit now. But I'm going to start off saying that this is a video poll. If you'd like to see Fantares produced as a game system, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little poll on YouTube and see what happens. Basically, if you want it, hit like. If you don't want it, hit dislike. Go with like. And I can then show Warlord that and say there's a market for it. I'll talk a little bit about it now. It's based on the Gates of Antares rules system, which I've been playing for maybe a couple of years now. When did this come out? Dear, my copy is signed by Rick Priestley. 2015. It's a really good system. Antares is a really solid system. Rick did a big thick book that went with the starter. There's now a little mini rulebook which I will just grab from the shelf, which you get with the 35 quid box set. This has all the rules you need in, and they've now put all the army lists online. Something else that there'll be a video about is about what Warlord are doing with their online resources. That'll be a separate video, so I'll talk about it in that one. But Gates of Antares, the fantasy version, I played it. It's really good. It's really, really good. It's that sort of, if you've ever played 1st to 3rd edition Warhammer Fantasy, if you've played Saga, if you've played Dragon Rampant, when Age of Sigmar first came out, it was trying to pitch itself at a like skirmish level, and that never really happened, and now they've brought out skirmish versions of it. You're talking a box of models aside, maybe 2 boxes. The armies I'm going to put together to play Fantares and put on the channel will be from 2 boxes. 1 box of infantry, 1 box of cavalry. I'll be looking to do it on a budget of less than 50 quid per army. Fantares plays very well. If you're going to be doing inevitably with everything, people will be doing huge games. If you're going to do a huge game with 12, 15 units aside, same with bolt action, you probably want to invest in movement trays. But you'll also start having the big units. In fantasy, that's your giants, your titans, your horrifically large monsters, your super powerful wizards. But I'm going to talk about the potential historical side of it, because Warlord do not produce a lot of fantasy miniatures, though they can have access to the old Wargames Factory Amazons, the Wargames Factory Orcs, and the Wargames Factory Skeletons. The Wargames Factory Skeletons in particular I'd like to see get re-released, because there's not a lot of Harryhausen style skeletons out there, particularly not in plastic and particularly not affordable. However, I see it as having real potential as a historical skirmish system. A lot of people out there liked playing Saga. It's got to 7 books and 3 different versions of the rules now, so they're going to do a complete soft reboot of it and put out a new rulebook next year, and then re-release all the setting-specific books. However, I think there is distinct potential for a big fat book like this from Warlord with Dark Age skirmishing, with Warlord do a huge range of Iron Age and Bronze Age figures. Would you do the Trojan Wars if you could do it with, say, 4 packs of infantry and a couple of heroes? You might. Doing the Trojan Wars now, you're spending 25 quid a regiment, and if you're still playing Warhammer Ancients, that does not get you a lot of points of infantry. But if you're playing, say, 500 points of Fantares, which is a perfectly reasonable size, and will give you a Lord and 2 or 3 units, or 1,000 points, which will give you a Lord, another character, 5 or 6 units, that's a lot more doable. I think there's been a big expansion in skirmish level systems recently. I think there's a lot of reasons for that. Maybe because, like me, people are getting older, people have kids, people have responsibilities, people cannot sit there and paint 100 figures because they do not have the time. You might be gaming and you want to pack things away in a reasonable sized case. My case for Antares is a skirmish case with 3 layers that I can fit in a backpack. The GW case I bought to put my army in for 40k is huge. My fantasy army case is huge. With a smaller skirmish size system, you've got lower storage space, you've got lower cost to start. If you can buy 1 or 2 plastic sets and you're good to go, that's an entry-level system. I'd certainly like to see little books like this, a few sprues from Warlord in a box. They're doing a lot of 35 quid, 40 quid starters at the moment, Test of Honour being the obvious one, which has got 35 plastic miniatures and a rule book and some dice and blah 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 blah. Something like that I think is a great intro to historical gaming, and I think historical skirmish gaming certainly has a lot of potential in it. Warlords sell a lot of historical miniatures. It would be a great thing for them to push. I'll be doing a couple of armies. I'll be basing it on these plastic Normans. I've got a box set of the infantry and a box set of the cavalry. I've probably got enough for maybe 1200 points, because I've got 15 knights, I've got more than 30 infantry, I've got a blister of crossbows. That's going to be all I need. I'll also be doing a Saracen force. So the Normans I can paint up for First Crusade era. The Saracens I will do as Saracens. I've got a box of infantry's worth. I will sort out a box of cavalry at some point for 12 cavalry models, and again, that'll take me to more than 1000 points. That'll also cost me maybe 40 quid in total. So, if you've liked this video, hit like or subscribe. If you want to see Warlord do Fantares as a system, hit a like. Let's make sure you can see the thumb. I'm not biased here, I'm not trying to bias the result, but if you don't want to see it, hit a dislike. Filming myself is a very strange experience and I've never done it before. Leave a comment below. Certainly I know that the sound quality on the Fantares video is not great. It was filmed in the middle of a convention. I know that some of the camera work was not great because I was not using a tripod like this, but see if you like the look of it, see if you like the system. The miniatures in there are the North Star miniatures, the plastic gnolls and the plastic dwarves, which they are just releasing now, and which I can highly recommend as being excellent models. But that whole dwarf army is one box, plus a little resin dude from the new Frostgrave expansion, who looks a bit dwarfy and has like some sort of bat on his arm, and looks maybe a bit like a wizard. Before people say dwarves never had wizards, they had them in 1st to 3rd edition of Warhammer Fantasy, they had them in Lord of the Rings, they've had them in a bunch of other fantasy things. So the source material is there, but as GW went a different direction, they ditched that. So they introduced things like Slayers, they ditched things like wizards, and dwarves went down a very specific path. It's like bows. In Lord of the Rings, dwarves ever used crossbows? No. Dwarves ever used gunpowder? No. In Fantasy Battle they seem to be the things that you associate with dwarves. But that's very much down to the influences to the miniature range from people like Trish Morrison and the miniatures that she sculpted. But this is enough of me gabbing on, because I'll endlessly talk about the history of Fantasy Battle or anything else. If you like the video, hit like or subscribe. If you want to see it, hit like. If you don't want to see it, hit dislike. But this is not the last Fantares video I'm doing. Good gaming, people.